Entertalk Radio, you're in to all things music.
May the best brand win with Scott Robertson's Music Biz Marketing Strategies. Now, here's your host, Scott Robertson.
Hey, happy Friday, everybody. You are tuned to May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Media, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. I am Scott, your host, and a man who has no problem celebrating made-up ridiculous holidays like Star Wars Day today, May the 4th. May the 4th be with you. I'm actually wearing my Star Wars shirt today. It's sad. If you think about it in that capacity, it's a little bit sad, I got to say. But with me in the booth, sharing in my sadness, is Paul B. How's it going today, Paul?
Pretty good. May the 4th be with you as well.
Are you celebrating in any special way the Star Wars Day?
I'm celebrating in the fact that I look at Reddit memes and I remember that it's a thing.
There you go. Everybody celebrates in their own way. That's what I say. You know, did you see that George Soros, who is a dead-on looker for the emperor, you know, after the emperor has all the horrible disfigurement, he looks exactly like George Soros. And George Soros is now backing an app. This is what Emperor Palpatine would do if he was real, is he's backing an app that allows illegal immigrants to dodge federal authorities. It shows where federal authorities are going to be, and it's like a immigration detector.
Great.
It's yeah. I said, oh, good. Violate federal law. Solid. Yeah, it's good to see. You know, I think it's good to see that the evil emperor is still putting his powers of evil to use, you know, to spread terror in the galaxy. It's exciting. It is.
A friend of mine used to work as a doorman in New York City, and he said Oliver Stone went up to meet with George Soros when he was getting ready to do the Wall Street remake. And Shia LaBeouf was with him as well, kind of going over the stuff. And he said like Shia came out for like a cigarette afterwards, and they kind of talked for a minute. And he's like, "Man, that dude upstairs is the devil." Talking about George Soros. Like he freaked the hell out of Shia LaBeouf.
That dude is the devil. He is the devil. I'm sorry. I mean, that dude's behind so many bad things in this country, and he looks like the emperor. He needs the hood.
You can't hide that kind of evil.
Darth Sidious. Power, unlimited power. You just expect that to come out of his mouth when he's like, you know, he's talking about his new app and this kind of thing, and he's like, power. Only now do you see the power of the dark side.
That's pretty good.
Oh, nice. Well, good. Let's get into some marketing. That was fun, but hey. So I run a marketing company, as is no surprise, called Robertson Com. And we do marketing, communications, PR for a lot of different cool companies and organizations out there. And if you want to reach me, you can reach me at scott@robertsoncom.com, 2 M's, like, you know, com communications. The website is www.robertsoncom2ms.com. And then, of course, my social handles are at Twitter. It's @robertsoncom. And then Facebook, we're at facebook.com/robertsoncom. As would become no surprise to you. And we usually put this show on Periscope, but I'm not doing that today because I have a lot of audio clips and stuff, and I just didn't think it would represent as well, be a nice video of me, of me just silently standing in front of a microphone. So I can't imagine how that could be any less enthralling. This is episode 85 of The Big Show, and I call it Start Me Up. You know, there are problems out there that are just waiting to be solved. And, you know, who are you going to call? And, you know, get ready to be vastly disrupted by startup companies and their own ideas about modern marketing and communications. You know, I recently traveled to Irvine, California, to attend the annual Eurekafest event. And I got a chance to talk with a handful of startups about some of their challenges and triumphs in marketing. So the show today is going to be all about startup marketing and that kind of fun stuff. So, you know, without further ado, I just want to, you know, say that it was a great experience being at Eurekafest, and it's really cool to see, you know, so many companies that are solving so many different types of problems. I saw artificial intelligence companies. I saw life sciences companies. I saw gaming companies. I saw, kind of social, interaction and activity companies. I mean, just all kinds of, if you ever have kind of those thoughts that say, oh, innovation is dead, in this country or whatever, attend one of these events and it will light your fire, because you will see a lot of people doing a lot of really cool stuff that you're just like, wow, I'd love to be a part of that. And I got to be a little bit of a small part of it by kind of being there as the press. So part of the press. So anyway, without further ado, I want to get into my first interview. My first interview victim was Peter Polidor, who is the CEO of Ergo Capital. And, they fund startup companies, of course. And Peter, is a founder of Eurekafest. And the first clip here, he talks about what Eurekafest is. So, if we could roll that, that'd be great.
This is the fourth annual Eurekafest, and I'm the founder of Eureka. So the whole goal of this event today is really a festival to celebrate the entrepreneurial community here in Southern California. We have speakers that have flown in from literally around the world, and what we're really hoping to do is create a huge gathering of very interesting, incredible people to share their insights and share their views, so that way we can make the community here that much more richer. And at the same time, celebrate the companies and the entrepreneurs and the startups that we have here locally, and make sure that they're on the map globally as well. Well,
okay, stop for 1 second. Okay, cool. So that's Peter giving us a little bit about what Eurekafest is. Then we turned our conversation about startup branding and kind of why it's important, and for him in his position as a guy who funds a lot of startup companies, kind of what he looks for and that sort of thing. So that's really what he's going to be talking about here in this next clip. Go ahead, Paul.
Well, the biggest difference is when you're a startup, no one has any idea what your brand is, because there's no built-in name recognition. So you're starting from square one, but a brand is so important. It is the image of your company. It is what people first see when they look you up. It is so important to have that down from the logo all the way through to the website to make people feel comfortable with whatever it is that you're doing for them. So if you want to attract customers, it's incredibly important. Investors is incredibly important. And even today, we have two different parts of the program that are focused just on branding, because it's that important. We have founders from companies talking about how do you build brands people love, and then we have an Oscar-winning producer who's also the co-founder of Shareability, which is creating some of the most viral videos in the world, doing a workshop with one of our companies, Tequila Tromba, on how, workshopping how do we take your brand to the next level and help it grow and do those kinds of things. So it's hugely important. It's hugely valuable. It's how people find you. It's how people know you. And it's how people trust you.
Cool stuff. So he keeps going here and talks a little bit more about branding. Some interesting points here. So again, this is Peter Polidor, CEO of Ergo Capital, talking about branding.
I mean, it comes down to no one wants to go to a startup and feel like they're working with a startup when they're your customer. Mm-hmm. So you have to make it essentially a seamless and clean process for them, right? So if you're, and I like to always look at the website. And just the other day, we had companies that were pitching as part of another program that I run called Accelerate Greece. They were pitching, and literally the investors in the room were opening up their laptops and going to the company's website because the pitch was that good, but now they wanted to see, was the rest of the company that good?
Right.
And it's important that the people you have who are customer facing, the people you have that are market facing in any way whatsoever, especially the CEO, knows what their brand represents, buys into what their brand represents, and always presents that same clean, professional image at all facets of the company, which takes a lot of work, but without it, you don't get a lot of customers.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, Peter really says it there, right? I mean, so such important advice. And for startup companies out there, it's important to know that this is what teams and guys that are funding startups out there, they're looking to make sure that you have the brand support as well out there. And in the third segment, I'm going to give you a few tips about kind of how to best do that. So that was Peter giving us kind of an opening here, and then I was able to interview Sean Dougherty, And those of you in the tech space might recognize Sean's name. So Sean, she is a co-founder of Mophie, which is a very interesting Southern California startup that came on the scene, and they create those iPhone cases that also charge up the iPhones. Very a powerful invention and things like that. So really, this next clip is Sean giving us a little intro about Mophie. So here we go, Sean Doherty.
One thing that I talk a lot about on the show is the power of emotion in branding.
Oh wait, stop for a second, Paul. Stop. Sorry. Before we get into Sean, I did ask Peter about emotional branding, and so I wanted that we should make sure we get his. Anyway, this is Peter talking about emotional branding. Let's do that clip. Go ahead.
Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. But obviously, we're human beings. We make our decisions pretty much emotionally, and then we rationalize them. What role does emotion play in your work and kind of what you see with startups?
Well, here's a question for you. How many times have you heard someone say, "Oh, I hate that company," or "I hate that brand"? "Oh, I love that brand." Yeah. They're never saying, "Oh, yeah, they're okay."
Yeah.
If anyone ever has an opinion about a brand, it's either love or hate. And it's the kind of thing that emotion is obviously part of that, because those are the two that are rather powerful in what we do and how those companies work. So, if your target market is men between the ages of 20 and 30, for whatever it is that you're selling, let's just say, you need to understand what it is that they care about and how they get emotionally attached to it.
Awesome stuff from Peter. We love that. All right, let's get into Sean here and see what's going on with Mophie. Here we go.
Just for the listening audience, tell us a little bit about Mophie and what you guys do and what you guys have done.
Sure. Mophie's the number one ranked portable battery case manufacturer in North America. I started the business in 2005 with a partner in Orange County, California, and then we moved it back to Michigan. We were the first company to release a battery pack made for the iPhone. It's a case that offers full protection, and if you turn it over and you push a button, if you see the LEDs here, it basically charges your phone up while you're on the go.
Very cool. Then I ask Sean about branding, and she gets right into it. So here we go.
The branding associated with the success of Mophie is super critical for every entrepreneur to know about. I mean, it's that one piece that really gave us the advantage over all of the competition in the marketplace. I have a philosophy when it comes to branding, and that is anything that you bring to market associated with a brand should be wearable. And that was somewhat the standard that we created inside of Mophie to ensure that the brand stuck with the brand guidelines and was always as classy as it could be and was always evolving. But ultimately, the standard was is that something I would be willing to wear?
Very cool. Then she goes on and gives some advice for new brands, which is very good advice. Here we go.
Define your brand guidelines and really stick with them. It's okay if they evolve, but define them. Because it's so easy to lose touch with your brand, especially when things start to become automated inside of a company. Mm-hmm. And then the other piece of advice I would give new brands bringing consumer electronic products to market is be really careful that you don't try and do too much too fast. If you've got a product that consumers want, then focus on that product. That's your bread and butter. Focus on it, let it evolve, document it well, turn it in. If it's an art, turn it into a science, and just don't get too far ahead of yourself. A lot of people try and do way too much too fast, and they lose their way. So try not to lose your way.
Man, is that some great advice from Sean? And then I believe this next clip. I went out on the kind of the show floor and started talking to some of the startups themselves. And this first one was a company called Sonova Life Sciences, and I talked to John Chi, who's the chief executive officer. This company is fascinating. They basically they can extract your stem cells out of your body fat, out of your belly fat, and create cartilage and other soft tissues that you need for surgeries later on, so increase your mobility and that kind of thing. So really some fascinating and pretty wild stuff going on with this company. So I talked with John just a little bit about this. May want to dial or pull back the volume a little bit on this one, Paul, because I think I had some caffeine and I might be a little loud. Here we go.
Hey, this is Scott. I'm out here at Eurekafest. I'm talking with John Chi from Sonova Life Sciences. John, how you doing today? And what is Sonova doing today?
Doing great. Thanks, Scott. So what we're doing today, we've got a device that extracts fat or stem cells from your fat, and that way we're working with orthopedists to use those stem cells to regenerate the joints, cartilage, and injuries like that. Yeah, and so our device gets the stem cells out in 90 seconds, and so the patient can come in and out and basically be done in about 30 minutes.
What fat do you get, like the belly or you do?
Yeah, usually around the abdomen. People tend to have a lot, love handles, things like that. Yeah, but there's other locations that.
And you can use it to you use it on the joints, you said, mainly?
Yeah, right now we're using it on the joints for things like osteoarthritis, meniscus tears, ACL tears, cartilage, ligament tears, and worn away cartilage. Yeah.
Nice. How did you discover that you were able to do that?
It was a long process in the lab to figure out how to get this out in a fast way, mechanically, without using any chemicals, so that the patient can get their own stem cells. Yeah.
No doubt. And so you're here in a startup environment. So you guys are a startup. My show's about marketing and branding. How important is marketing and branding in your work in trying to get the word out about what you're doing?
Right now, it's starting to become a lot more important because we're coming out of R&D. We've got this product that no one else can touch, like as far as what we're able to do with it, and then and now we're looking to get the word out, and so marketing right now is very important for us. Yeah.
And a question that I ask everybody is, if you had to say what emotion you're trying to go for with your brand of Sonova, what would that be?
Joy.
Very cool. You want to expand on that?
Yeah, when you're healthy, you're happy, you're able to move around, quality of life is good, and just being able to live longer, I think to me, that brings a lot of joy. Being able to help people heal, get rid of pain, so I'd say joy.
Very, very cool. Well, we're just about out of time in this segment, but we're going to come on back and we're going to talk about who's winning and losing, and then I'm going to play a few more clips for me from my time at Eurekafest. Right now, you're listening to May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Media, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. Come on back. We got lots more show for you. See ya.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
Hi, I'm Tim Dolbear, the host of Sound Experience on Entertalk Radio. Each week, I talk with top professional audio engineers, producers, musicians, and the manufacturers that make the tools that we use in the studio each and every day. From capturing the perfect take to mastering your final release, and the tools and how the pros use them, we are going to dive deep into their process and learn from their experience. I look forward to you joining us each week on Sound Experience with me, your host, Tim Dolbear.
Make this your vinyl night. I'm John J.R. Robinson, and every week, music creation comes alive through stories, experiences, and sounds when vinyl records filled our hearts and minds. My friends and I share our tips and techniques used in creation of iconic tracks for recording artists such as Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Quincy Jones, and Steve Winwood, to name a few. Vinyl has emerged hot, and the soul of vinyl defines art and passion which burns deepest at night. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on EntertalkRadio.com.
May the best brand win with Scott Robertson's Music Biz Marketing Strategies. Now, here's your host, Scott Robertson.
Hey, it's Friday, everybody. It is May the 4th, be with you day, Star Wars Day. You're tuned to May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Media, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. We are talking about startup marketing all day today. And at the conclusion of that last segment, we were just talking with, doing an interview with John Chi, who is the CEO of Sonova Life Sciences, a fascinating company. And what I want to call your attention to is the fact that I asked everybody there, what emotion they would base their brand on, and sometimes I get kind of puzzled looks from folks, and they're like, well, I don't know, or this, or they're just, it's like it's the first time they've ever thought about that question in that moment when I just asked it to them. And you can see it in their eyes, by the way, up and to the right sort of thing. So, but John knew it. And I thought that was so cool. When I asked him what emotion, he shot it back at me in about 0.5 seconds. He understood what his messaging should be. Now, one thing I will say about Sonova Life Sciences is that even though he was able to articulate that and say, hey, we're about joy and that sort of thing, none of the materials that they had there were really reflecting that. So it's not enough to just know that, you actually have to use it, and use it, effectively, which is some of the advice that I gave to John, at the event. I asked every single company, that question. And basically, like I said, I got kind of a mixed bag. Some people, but John was really. It was really great that he knew that right away. And I think that it is the most important question in branding. If we can do a quick review of what branding is, if branding is the science of transferring emotion, human emotion, to things that aren't human, then you better figure out before you start what emotion you're going to try to push on. And I see this all the time. I see that companies, have a surface level message that has some kind of speeds and feeds kind of messaging, hey, we'll save you time, save you money, yada, 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 like kind of surface level kind of stuff. And they don't push far enough into the human psyche and really into the heart, into emotion. And if you do that, you're going to give your marketing team just a much better story to tell. It's really, really important stuff. So anyway, that's what we had to say about John. I'm going to come back at the top of segment 3 and play a couple more interviews for you from Eurekafest. But right now, let's do the part of the show that everybody loves, where we talk about who's winning and losing in the world. Let's start with Gibson. Gibson this week issued a statement that said, outlining their plans to restructure the core business and reorganize under Chapter 11 of the U.S. Bankruptcy Code. And we've been following this story on the show for a long time, talking about, management, and they basically had to restructure some of their, their stuff. I encourage you, there's a lot of articles been written about it. One of the best ones that is out there is Fast Company. And it says, here's why Gibson is bankrupt. And no, it's not because rock is dead. I think that's really important to know, because people that are outside of the music products industry might make the assumption, with Guitar Center's, financial problems, with Gibson's financial problems, that, rock is dead and, nobody's playing music anymore. None of that is true. There is no data that supports that conclusion, just so you know. And so, and I encourage you to check the data from folks like the Music Trades, who have covered music product sales in, the United States and worldwide since, for way over 100 years. They certainly have earned that expert status. It's really important that you check with people who actually know what the hell they're talking about. And I do not include financial analysts in that, because they barely understand this industry. Barely. I don't care if they play guitar on the weekends or whatever, but it's been my experience that it's by their standards, by financial analyst standards, this is a small industry. It's only an $8 billion industry, sort of globally, maybe 8 to 10. And so it's really, really important that, when you look at stories like Gibson and you look at stories like Musician Friend, Guitar Center, and the problems that they're having, you don't make that jump like some reporters do to say, well, I guess nobody's playing music anymore, and that kind of thing. Yeah. So anyway, that's what's going on with Gibson. Yay. I'm going to say probably winning, actually. I think Gibson is filing for bankruptcy protection. They're trying to jettison some of these other empire building things like, Phillips and some things that have been really, holding the company back. They're going to try to reorganize around the core business and make that thing profitable. And we all wish them a lot of success because, it's a fantastic company that needs to remain fantastic and probably just, get back to basics and make great guitars and, leave the rest of the consumer electronics world to do what it's going to do on its own. So anyway, I'm going to say winning for now, at least. I think there's something interesting going on in terms of privacy right now with what's called the GDPR, General Data Protection Regulation. It was recently passed in the EU. You know them. And the EU, basically it allows consumers to more effectively protect the data and the movement of their data as they put it onto social networks and various sites. It's really, really interesting. It's really, really important because if you are on the World Wide Web, you are probably subject to the good old PR. And so, because at least in for the citizens of the EU, it takes place and it replaces the what they call the 1995 Data Protection Directive, and it becomes enforceable. Basically, what it has to do with how your information is protected, inside of social networks and the like, and websites. It's about digital rights, and that is going to become an increasingly interesting topic. We might just do a show on digital rights and talk about especially how it reflects out into marketing communications. Because if there's one group of people that is infringing on digital rights, that's us, marketing. Marketing are the people that say, oh, we want all this big data. We want all this data. Well, where the hell do you think that data comes from? Guess, here is your wake-up call, digital marketers. You guys have caused a problem because of your much like the people who created a velociraptor in Jurassic Park. And then they were like, hey, look what we can do. And look at this. Isn't this great? Oh, it's getting bigger. It's getting bigger. Oh, now I'm dead. That is the same exact thing that happened with marketers and digital data. They're like, oh, we can find out if people are type 1 diabetic and they're within 40 yards of this. We can geographically target them in all kinds of creepy and invasive ways and this kind of thing. The GDPR would not be necessary if marketing hadn't overstepped in so many different areas, and companies hadn't overstepped in so many different areas with regard to personal data. Sooner or later, we're going to have to learn that just because you can grab data on somebody does not make it moral, ethical, or something that you should do. There is a big old gap between those things, folks, and somebody is going to have to start stepping up, aside from the GDPR. Some companies are going to have to start stepping up and going, yeah, we could do that, but let's not be creepy. Let's back off on our creepiness factor. Yeah, it's great to have data and all this kind of things, but I think rather than data, wouldn't you prefer to have a positive relationship with somebody? Because if people find out that you've used your data inappropriately, you're going to have data about how they left you, how fast they left you, and left the vapor trail behind them. So anyway, we're going to talk about digital rights a lot more on this show, moving forward, and really marketing's level of responsibility that needs to step up to do that stuff better. Twitter has advised all 330 million of their users to change their passwords after a bug exposed all the passwords in plain text. Now, if this sounds really, really stupid to you, it is. That's really stupid. It's like people that write their passwords on a Post-it note and then stick it on top of their computer and then wonder why their password's not secure and their password is password 1234, that kind of thing. It's that level of stupid, but it's that level of stupid at enterprise level, which makes it really stupid. Got to say. But here's your takeaway from this. Twitter's losing. Twitter's making mistakes. Twitter, if you have a password to Twitter, change it now, right now. Finish listening to the show and then change it, and change it to something better than probably what you're using right now. Just so you know. But and also just a quick word from the IT side of things. Change your passwords often, and have a log. Dashlane is really good, by the way, for storing all your passwords and actually reminding you to change things. There's actually Dashlane is really good, by the way, especially if you're a Mac user. You'll dig that. There's a lot of programs and things out there that do that, but pay attention to that kind of stuff, because you don't want to have to try to regain control of your Twitter feeds and this kind of things because your password was published in the text file for that Twitter. Twitter's losing. All of our users in Twitter are losing time while they have to go fix their passwords. One more interesting thing about Twitter is they came out this week and said that more than half of their business is video. So basically, they've been highlighting a lot of video ads and talking about this, but now they don't just generate a lot of money for Twitter; they generate the majority of the company's advertising revenue. So that's something for us marketers to really pay attention to, is the fact that many of these social platforms are gravitating very quickly to video and being all about video, and certainly Twitter. That's an interesting story, by the way. That story you can find that on Recode.net and a few other places as well. But check that out. Interesting. Let's see who else is winning and losing. The Boy Scouts changed their name this week to Scouts BSA, and they are welcoming girls into their program. We talked about that story before, and the PR battle that came out between the Girl Scouts and the Boy Scouts, and they just kind of battled back and forth. And that thing was nasty. I mean, believe me, they said they didn't have nice things to say about each other at all, which is really not a good example to set, for the kids, is how I would say it. But anyway, the Boy Scouts program is now becoming Scouts BSA, and it will now include young women. And only the program for older youth really will change the name, and it's just kind of it's interesting. To me, it seems like one of these things that is a solution looking for a problem. I don't see the outcry of people saying, because there is Girl Scouts, right? I don't see people saying, well, my little girl really wants to join Girl Scouts. And if they do, then is it like enough people to change the name and the brand of your entire organization? And just on a branding note, real quick, you never want to have the name of your organization be really confusing, where you have to explain it, where you have to have another couple of sentences after what you just said because nobody understands what the hell you are anymore. So Boy Scouts changing their name to Scouts BSA, now their communications director conversations with the press go like this. We're Scouts BSA. Right. That stands for Boy Scouts of America. Yeah, I know Scouts are in there twice. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. It changed because we welcome girls into the program. Right. We had some data that said we need, all of instead of just saying we're the Boy Scouts and being done and moving on to what you're going to try to say, now you got at least a 3-sentence conversation that has to go on about your brand. And to me, marketing communications professional, I think that's really dumb. I don't think that's a good way to brand it. I don't think, they created this cute tagline, scout me in and this kind of thing. And it creates this really awkward, weird thing where between the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts, who used to coexist really nicely, at least from my perspective, they did. They seem to coexist really nicely. And now they're in competition with each other in this really weird way. And it's just odd. I was a Boy Scout. It would have been weird to have girls in that thing. I'm sorry. Boys and girls are different. Boys are super awkward. Girls are super awkward. You like a junior high dance where there's like boys on one side and girls on the other side. That's not us saying they need to be on one side or another. That's what we do. That, especially at that age. So I just think I think it's odd. And the branding is really bad. So anyway, losing all the way around is what I'll say. You know who was losing that's unfortunate? Peppa Pig, which is a little British cartoon character of a cute little pig, Peppa Pig, and poor Peppa Pig is been adopted as the mascot of some gangs in China. Straight up. So the Peppa Pig has banned, China has banned Peppa Pig from social media for being too quote-unquote gangster, and they have deleted over 30,000 videos of the cartoon pig on the platform. The Peppa Pig TV show started airing in China in 2015, but at some point last year, young adults started co-opting the innocent cartoon as a symbol of subversion, even getting tattoos of Peppa. So if you're a gangster and your idea of rebellion is Peppa Pig, you probably should revisit what it means to be a gangster. I'm not going to say that our gangsters are better than yours, China, but we don't have Peppa Pig. Honest to God, we're gonna do like a skull or like a flaming bird or something. You know what I mean? I mean, if you're gonna be gangster, you need something threatening. Peppa Pig is a small pig in a ballet uniform with a rose on her chest and ballet slippers. There ain't nothing gangsta about that, folks. So I don't get that story at all, I gotta say. But Chinese retailers are still selling plenty of Peppa Pig merchandise. So obviously Peppa Pig and obviously the folks in the UK are just like, hey, this is totally working for us. But it's a weird story. I got to say, it's a weird story. And then if you read further in the story, there's a few stories about it, but one I can definitely recommend is Matt Novak's piece in Gizmodo. Very strong, and it will give you everything you need to know about that. Did you know that the Chinese banned Winnie the Pooh as well because it became a meme that was poking fun at the Chinese president? So that was kind of interesting because Pooh's kind of not in shape. Sort of thing. And I guess that might be the same thing with the Chinese president, according to some people. So anyway, I didn't know that Winnie the Pooh was banned. I certainly didn't know this thing about Peppa Pig. That's why you tune into the show, to hear weird and dumb things like that. But I would say probably winning from the marketing perspective. Chinese is losing, though, because they need to step up and ask better gangster symbols than that. And you are tuned to May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Media, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. Come on back. I'm going to give you some startup marketing tips, and we're going to hear from a few other startups at Eurekafest. Come on back.
Hi, I'm Tim Dolbear, the host of Sound Experience on Entertalk Radio. Each week, I talk with top professional audio engineers, producers, musicians, and the manufacturers that make the tools that we use in the studio each and every day. From capturing the perfect take to mastering your final release, and the tools and how the pros use them, we are going to dive deep into their process and learn from their experience. I look forward to you joining us each week on Sound Experience with me, your host, Tim Dolbear.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
Make this your vinyl night. I'm John J.R. Robinson, and every week, music creation comes alive through stories, experiences, and sounds when vinyl records filled our hearts and minds. My friends and I share our tips and techniques used in creation of iconic tracks for recording artists such as Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Quincy Jones, and Steve Winwood, to name a few. Vinyl has emerged hot, and the soul of vinyl defines art and passion which burns deepest at night. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on EnterTalkRadio.com.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
May the best brand win with Scott Robertson's Music Biz Marketing Strategies. Now, here's your host, Scott Robertson.
Hey, happy Friday, everybody. You are so smart because you are tuned to May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Media, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. I am still Scott. With me in the booth is still Paul, and we just did Winning and Losing. Paul, what are you liking this week from the collection?
Well, the Gibson thing was kind of long time coming.
Yeah.
Sad, and
it is, but I think that they'll be able to, come out of it though. I think they'll be able to focus, and I mean, they're still selling guitars. The question is, how do you have hundreds of millions of dollars worth of debt? How are you going to keep a business going?
You think there's an infinity stone that controls time that's going to roll everything back where it's not really dead?
I'd like to see it. I could see it. Yeah, I like it. I like bringing in the Infinity Stone. Copyright Marvel 2018. Copyright Marvel. Fun. Well, cool. Let's get right back into this whole show. We've been talking about startup marketing, and I wanted to play a couple more clips for you. So the first one I'm going to play is from a gentleman who is the founder of a company called Katoa. His name's Sione Haiola, and they do a lot of cool things. They do some really cool customizable mouth guards for high school sports athletes. And this was one of the companies I ran into at Eurekafest, and I just wanted to play a little bit of Sione Haiola for you. So without further ado, here he is.
Say, emotional, brands are all about emotion. So what would you say your brand's trying to do and get people to feel emotionally?
For me, it's giving back to my grandparents. I met my mom when I was 21 years old. I was raised with grandma and grandpa in Hawaii, and what they did for me was they gave me a chance. And so I feel like representing them, I can do that with Katoa, and I can really resonate with everything that they've taught me to give back, to help, to always, represent them the best way that I can. That life isn't about just me. It's really bigger than that. It's about, representing all the people that has, played a positive role in your life and really has helped you out.
Very cool. All right. Cool company. I encourage you to check it out, by the way, at KatoaWarrior.com. Really interesting company, here in the LA, Orange County area. Sione really spoke very passionately, about the emotion and about why he's the emotional journey that the brand is creating for the customer and his own emotion, coming into the company. And I think that's one of the cool things about startups is the fact that they, they kind of drive forward on passion to change things and make things better and do these kind of things. So anyway, wishing him all the luck in the world with that company, and pretty exciting. And the last one I want to talk to you about was a company called UpGo, and that's founder and CEO Scott Howell spent a couple minutes with me discussing a few things. So if you can go ahead and start that one, go ahead and start it. It's just going to take a second to get that one going. And by the way, the last one sounded like I was like in a nightclub or something. It got really loud by the Katoa Warrior booth. I have to say it was good. So.
Okay,
here we go.
I'm here with Scott from UpGo. I'm here at Eurekafest, and we're just talking about what UpGo's up to here at Eurekafest. So, Scott, how's it going?
Good, very good. Yeah, we're here to launching a new product. We're an educational technology company, so we have education services around teaching today's youth, which are teenagers and preteens, life skills that they don't normally teach in school. And our first life skill is cyber safety. So that's anti-bullying, anti-cyberbullying, how to avoid sexting and the reasons why you don't want to do it and those kinds of things. And we've launched a cyber safety app in the Apple App Store to do that. So that's why we're here today.
Nice. And, how important is awareness of this and branding in what you're trying to do and trying to reach this audience of preteens?
Yeah, we take the marketing side of things, real seriously, and that's a lot of my background's in marketing too. So we take it more broad. A lot of people think marketing, they think of promotion or lead gen or customer acquisition, but we look at it a lot broader. Starting with the brand, we spent money to trademark UpGo in 3 different industries, and no one else can use that in education and software, and spent the money to do that. And we look at it in terms of competition and what products do we want to launch and what are the market segments we want to go after. And then finally, if you do all that, you can get down and do your lead gen and your promotion and your awareness building and so forth.
Fantastic. And what is your plan for the future? What other life skills are you thinking about?
Right now it's cyber safety, and the next ones we're probably going to do is some of the stuff like emotional intelligence and helping kids get emotionally mature. Parents don't do a good job really of teaching how to manage strong emotions, and kids react and make matters worse, and the schools don't have time to add it to their curriculum. So emotional maturity could be communication skills, conflict resolution, relationships and dating. I mean, the kids don't get any really solid advice on that except from their friends on YouTube. So we want to kind of give them some more professional curriculum, but in a fun format and a smartphone app with video based, because that's the way they want to consume their information.
Very, very cool. Cool company, and Scott was a great guy, and he had a lot of interesting things to talk about in terms of the emotional aspects of what they're doing with their brand. So I encourage you to check out, if you go to 4upgo.com, you'll see that as well. So, and by the way, just so in the first segment I talked about John Chi and Sonova. If you want to check that website out, it's sonovalife.com. Sonova Life. If you want to check out the belly fat extractor that makes, like, they can make cartilage and all kinds of cool tissues out of your own tissues. Well, great. So, Eurekafest was awesome, and I learned a lot from what's coming down the pipe in terms of startup companies. But I wanted to leave you, the listening audience, with a few startup marketing tips of your own, and kind of what we can learn and what we've learned from listening to some of the startups talk. So, the first tip I want to say is, once you know the problem that you're going to solve for people, you want to start by creating powerful, emotional messaging, brand messaging that is all about the audience. Here's a quick check. I call it the pronoun test, and I've talked about messaging before. If you write out some messaging of your doing and you count the personal pronouns in there, if you have pronouns that are modifying you, the company, things like we and us and those kind of things, circle them, right? Then count all the personal pronouns that are pointed back at the audience. You, your needs, you're good looking, you're awesome, all these kind of things. You, the you facing kind of pronouns. Circle all those. You, your, all that kind of stuff, right? Now, make sure that you have a lot more of the you pronouns than you have the we pronouns, right? That's how you know that you have a message that's about them and not about you. Again, problems that I solve all the time from companies who are not just startup companies are like, well, we do this, and we've been in business since this, and we do this, and we do this. And again, as I say many times on this show, no one cares. No one cares. They only care about themselves. They only care about themselves, right? Write it down. Make a bumper sticker. Create a T-shirt. That is the truth right there. So before you create the name of the company, before you create the logo, before you create anything else, sit down and say, what's in it for them? How do we design this foundation, to be strong from the beginning by making it all about the audience? And do that stuff before you name it, before you create any graphic design for it, before you create a website for it, before you create any of that. Messaging always comes first. It must come first. Otherwise, you're going to have to hire a guy like me, and I'm going to have to come in and fix it and redo everything. I'm going to have to come in and, which is what I do all the time, is come in, I sit down with the company, and I say, okay, why isn't marketing working? Well, the message is all about us and how long we've been in business, and no one cares. So why is the message all about us? And then we fix it. There you go. So why fix it? If you're starting up, start with powerful emotional messaging that's all about them. Tip number 2, begin with the goal and the expectation of creating mutually beneficial long-term relationships with your audiences. This is really, really important. This is an important philosophy to start at the beginning, because that will stave off you doing a lot of dumb things like telemarketing, retargeting, and sort of your hardcore selling and conversion happy tactics, which do what, ladies and gentlemen of the jury? They drive people away. Think about dating the opposite sex. Human beings, we can sense desperation. We can sense all these hardcore tactics, right? And it doesn't build a good relationship. At the very least, you come off as desperate. At the very most, you come off as annoying, and they're going to call the authorities on you. In this case, the authorities being the FTC, the FCC, any other F and a C organization that you can name out there will be happy to take their call, I guess. The conversions will come. Just relax. Be great at what you do, and the conversions will come. But they won't come if you annoy everybody and interrupt them from what they're trying to do, and you come off as wildly desperate. So you begin with the expectation and the goal of creating mutually beneficial long-term relationships with our audiences. This is what marketing should be doing at all turns. This is what we're supposed to be doing. A lot of people in the profession don't know this, have forgotten this, have decided to trade this in for big data dashboards and sales conversions. And what they don't measure is all of the relationships that they're leaving, all of the potential relationships that they're destroying along the way to get a few conversions. Don't be that person. Don't be that person. Be the marketer that is about relationships and be able to measure that. Important. Number 3, create opening listening pathways, to your audience. Very, very important, especially for a startup. You need to be connected and listen way more than you talk. Some of the most successful startups I've seen, companies like BandLab, who have 3 million users now, and they own Cakewalk, and they own Heritage Guitars, or they have a marketing partnership with Heritage Guitars, and they're bringing Harmony guitars and all these things. That company started as a very small company, but they are great at listening. They have their ears open all the time to feedback about their products and what they're doing, and their CEO is fantastic, and he's attentive and to what's going on, and they are a listening organization. Creating those opening listening pathways, that's how you get from 1 user to 3 million, because you are serving people and doing things that they want, and not doing things that they don't want, like marketing to them when they don't want to be marketed to. Really, really important. The entire marketing profession has got to get on this page sooner than later, because it's not really a choice. The consumer is learning how to block us with ridiculous amounts of efficiency. Like Deadpool cutting the bullets with his swords and that kind of thing. That's how good the customer is getting at blocking marketing messages. We can skip commercials. We can skip almost any type of advertising. We can block things. We can unsubscribe to things. The very first button on your phone when you get an e-news blast is unsubscribe. That's all the pressure in the world that's put back on us. They are becoming so good at blocking all of our marketing. And what the marketing profession typically does is, well, let's just triple the output. Let's just hit them 50 ways to Sunday and this kind of thing. But, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, if we start out with the goal and expectation of creating mutually beneficial long-term relationships with our audiences, we don't do stupid things like that. We don't, because we understand that the end of the game is not a sale today. It's a sale today, tomorrow, forever. Keep going and that kind of thing. That's the goal. But to do that, you have to listen, and you have to listen more than you talk. And that's hard for startups because, man, they want to talk. They want to talk, and they want to raise money, and they want to get out there, and they just want to talk. But don't forget the listening. Really important part of communications that I see gets ignored all the time. And you can learn all kinds of cool stuff so that when you talk, you're actually saying something relevant. Important. Tip number 4, be creative. Startups have great advantages. One of the greatest advantages a startup has is you have less bureaucracy. You can do a lot more creative things. You don't answer necessarily to a board of directors. You can get out there and do a lot more things with a lot greater forgiveness than like a large company. Like Starbucks blows its nose the wrong way, and they got a bunch of people like me, criticizing their marketing. And believe me, just while we're talking about it, there's quite a bit that you could be critical of. But, a startup doesn't have that. They don't have as many people watching them. They can do a lot more things, that are creative. watch your competitors in the space. If they are zigging, then zag. Watch what people are doing. You don't have to behave the same way that all companies do. And I think that with any kind of startup, again, you just have this tremendous amount of freedom. So make sure that you lean into that and use it. Really, really, really important. Tip number 5, the final tip, as we would say, measure everything and really be open to changing any of your tactics that aren't working. And don't just measure like vanity metrics, like, we got this many visits to our website and we got this many likes on Facebook, that kind of thing. That's not what I'm talking about when I say measure everything. I'm saying, what impact are we having out there? What do people actually have to say about us? I'm not a big marketing survey fan. I got to say, I don't like filling them out, and I don't believe them as a marketer either, for reasons that I think most people lie on them. Even if they're not even aware themselves that they're lying, they're not telling you 100% of the truth, because the things we want to know are just too, they're just too close to the heart for them to actually be in contact with, and certainly to share them with us, just depending on the relationship. But when I'm saying measure everything, I mean measure your conversations. What impact are we having on conversations out there? And then what is the tone out there? And social media gives you a great window into this kind of stuff. So make sure that you have that piece in there. It's really, really important. And be open to change. Be open to changing it. What did we learn today, class? As I saw at Eurekafest, innovation is definitely alive and well in Orange County and throughout the world, with thousands of new companies adding their messages to a very crowded landscape of distractions and attractions. The ones who succeed will create powerful brand messaging and win over followers. They'll make ethical choices about how they use data and how they decide to attract people instead of interrupt them. And they can win over their followers, fans, and customers for years to come. All the others will probably be featured in the losing side of this show as cautionary tales. Starting up something can be super exciting, but don't start up so fast that you forget to have something meaningful to say. That's it for me, folks. I'm on vacation next week, but I'm back the week after that. So this has been Scott Robertson, host of May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Media. Rock on.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Entertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear from Eclectica Studios. I'm a full-time mixing and recording engineer. I work with Grammy winners, labels, and indie artists, using state-of-the-art digital mixing and restoration tools and the very best in analog gear. Really, though, it's my ability to bring tracks to life and fulfill your vision for your music. This has made me sought after by producers and artists worldwide. So spend your time working on music and not chasing a mix down a rabbit hole. Go to timdolbear.com and check out our free one-song mix offer.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al DiMeola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?